Hello and welcome to the Dogtooth Podcast. I just want to do a quick introduction on what the Dogtooth Podcast is, and then I'll get on introducing our guests. So the Dogtooth Podcast is basically me chatting with my network, my friends, business colleagues, and interesting people. So not everyone on here I know very well, but some people will be just my friends. I'm hoping to tease out some interesting things, but essentially what this will be a creative business podcast. Not for creative specifically. It will be various different types of people, from fitness through to manufacturing, with artists in there as well. But it will be generally a business-focused podcast, so it's not going to be necessarily about mindset or fitness or manufacturing. It'll be about all the thread that holds it together, and over time I'm hoping that I will be able to create a sort of a document that will help small business operators, people who are looking to come out of a corporate gig and turn them their passion into a business. That is my passion. I'm fortunate that when I was very young I kind of chose a career based on a few things, but we can get into over the time with these podcasts. But ultimately, I chose to be a designer. I followed that path, and eventually I am now, I've been running my own business for 20 plus years. And I love my daily life. Do I want to improve? Do I want to make a bigger impact in life? Of course I do. And that's part of this podcast journey as well. So if you'd like to join me on the Dogtooth Podcast, good morning and welcome to the Dogtooth Podcast. This is another episode of the podcast where we talk about creative ideas, business, branding, that kind of thing. And with me this morning is Tom Sanderson, one of my friends for the last few years. He worked in the business next door to me, and he goes to the same gym as me. And now Tom has gone off and done his own thing. And so I thought I'd get him on the podcast to tell him a little bit more about his products and what he's doing and where he is in the world. So, Tom, over to you. I know a lot about your products and stuff, but if you want to just do a quick introduction on what Kineon is and you and who you are.
Hey Rick, good to meet you again, my friend, and always a pleasure to see you. And I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversations over the last decade or so. Back in the days in the warehouses next to your office, as you say, working in Dales in the consulting role I had there, and then now finally over here in Malaysia, many miles away, but still Malton is ever close to my heart. Even perhaps not the cold that you might be experiencing at the moment, but we're having yes. You've got your layers on. I haven't put a jumper on in years now. So, but it's great to be on the podcast. Thanks for inviting me. Really do appreciate it, and happy to share anything that you think might be of interest to your listeners and community.
Yeah, it's cool. So, as you say, we used to talk a little bit about business when we would get a moment outside or something, and then obviously over time in the gym and things, because I think fitness obviously is one of your key things. I know that you do like, yoga and other things, but you're very keen on the holistic approach to life and business, and keeping your body in prime condition, as it were, which I think has been one of the reasons why it led you to the product that you have, which is obviously a T-shirt, which is Kineon. And could you just quickly explain that? And we'll touch back on it because we'll come back to you as a person, but with the product.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Great. So, I'm the co-founder and COO of Kineon. There's two main co-founders, and Kineon is essentially a health tech wearable business. So we currently have a single product, or a single main product, which is it's called the Move Plus, and it's our flagship product. It's for using red light therapy. It's its core technology. Our differentiators are we use LEDs and lasers. What does that mean? It means it penetrates deeper and gets better results. But our focus is the fact that it's wearable, and it means that people can treat muscle pain, joint pain, things like arthritis. In fact, anything with inflammation, inflammation is a body's signal to say there is pain. So anything with inflammation, anything that ends in itis, cystitis, pancreatitis, ulceritis, and arthritis is one of the biggest ones. So that our device, our technology reduces the pain and inflammation in the body, and therefore helps the body to heal itself by essentially powering blood flow to that area. Yeah, we started this company, started talking about it in 2000. So we're in our sixth year, I guess, of conceptualization and ideation through to having products in the market. And we've now year to date shipped around 60,000 units worldwide in just 3 years of shipping. So products working great, getting amazing feedback from people all around the world, telling us how they've just changed their lives. And I'm happy to dip into some details on any of that later. But that's the core foundation of our business, is helping people get back to doing what they love, pain-free. And you're an avid skateboarder, I think, snowboard and other of these kind of activities. We're always carrying niggles and injuries from past injuries from years ago, or new ones that happen just in a supermarket, walk around, sprain your ankle. And so there's always a niggle going on, and it's nice to not have to use NSAIDs or ibuprofen is an NSAID, for example, or paracetamol. It's nice to allow the body to heal itself naturally using its own intelligence, really.
Yeah.
So that's the core foundation for Kineon, and we have a fantastic roadmap ahead, which I can explain a little bit more. But that's our core foundational product and offering and success so far.
Yeah. So, because one of the things about the Dogtooth podcast is what I want to chat about is doing business in your passion area, in the things that you love, and so obviously I'm going to have artists on it, I'm going to have automotive people on it, but ultimately the thread that runs through it all is business. And I think, obviously from everything that we've talked about before, you're passionate about business, and then what you've done is you've also aligned one of your personal passions, which is health, with the fact that you're also like an entrepreneur as well, right? That's why what came out from Kineon. And I know obviously you started it here when you're in Malton. Your co-founders thinks in the US, right? And then you had all these time issues where you were having to get up early or late or whatever to work alongside those people. So what drove the passions to align of business and health?
Yeah, great question. So what drove the passions to align in terms of business and health is essentially stem from probably getting it wrong from a long time, which is not unusual from the business world, where people struggle, they try to do something, it doesn't quite work. But instead of seeing them as failures, you see them as learning opportunities, growth opportunities, and ways that you found that aren't the right way on your way to finding what it is you truly want to do and truly want to be successful and be remembered for. And so you were right. You noted that at the start, my personal interests are in health, wellness, mind, body, spirit. If we're healthy inside and happy inside, we can be doing anything externally and be happy with it. And it's sort of quite cliche as that, but when people sit and really think about it, that's the truth. Number of zeros in the bank account don't equal happiness. Although when you don't have numbers in the bank account, it's an extra challenge of all the different challenges to be, let's call it, happier, or to make little problems of life go away: school fees, extra clothes, holidays, whatever it is. But my personal interests are based around things like meditation, the gym, being outdoors, human connection with nature. And I think that what you identified also was that point of human connection, that natural connection. I believe that we're all, although we wear clothes and we live in houses, we are part of nature essentially. And we're not going to get into the evolution versus God sort of discussion just now on this podcast, I think. But the fact is, what everyone agrees is that human connection brings happiness to us when we're fulfilled. And so through business, through commerce, we're able to connect better for this. And I think that the way in which we operate a business, or the way let's say this, the way in which we design a business that we want to be in, allows us to fulfill what it is we want to achieve in the world. So for me, I would like to be having conversations like this with really good people like you, talking about things that may help other people achieve what it is they would like in their life and their goals. And that doesn't mean we get it perfect. I'm going to screw up a few things on this podcast. You'll screw up something on the podcast afterwards and go, wish we did that better. And that's okay. It's being natural and being normal and accepting that things aren't perfect helps us to just keep moving. And I actually fly to Dubai on Thursday for a health show over there. It's our second year They're our distributor. We found our distributor last year at the show. So the great news is that they're running the show. I get to go and help them on the stand, which is a real privilege. I love being in that part of the world. But also, I'm going to talk on stage for the first time at a health and wellness show. And to be perfectly honest, I'm shitting myself because I don't know as much as most of the other people in the audience about health and wellness. I just know what I know. But I don't need to know as much as them. I need to be able to deliver what my message is as clearly as I can do. And I think that that's really the cool thing about business is you don't have to be better than everyone else. You just have to be the best that you can be and keep moving and keep getting little successes along the way.
Yeah. I would say that, I've literally been talking and writing about the human connection part of it. And that human connection actually is part of your brand. That's, for me, that is how you differentiate yourself between your product and someone else's product. It's that way that you connect with the actual audience, be them, researchers or buyers or whatever. It is definitely a human to human connection, not a human to product. It's a human to human connection. And
that's a really interesting note what you said about, because and that's how we got talking, right? Like I know we were neighbors, but also I was neighbors with the people on the other side and didn't ever talk to them. And I think we connected because you were just seemed a really nice guy. We actually saw each other in the gym a couple of times, and I fell in love with the brand, the gym. I've got their logo somewhere. Where is it? Their logo that you designed. I was like, who does this logo? So, Rick that's in the gym, that guy. I was like, yeah. He's like, they did. I was like, cool. And then I realized you were next to Rick. And so that human to human connection is essentially, and doing things with people you want to do things with is so much more exciting. Like you've done amazing stuff. You've traveled around the world. You've done amazing car rallies. You've done some pretty cool stuff. But I bet the best times you've ever had is when you've just, I don't know, been sat somewhere, didn't almost matter where, with a beer, just having a chat with a real good laugh with a mate. And that was of all the skiing and snow or trip, those moments are what make it magical.
Yeah. And I think, you come back to business. For me, business, my business doesn't work in the same way that yours is about a product process and getting it to market and that kind of thing. Mine is actually very much about choosing people to work with, and working with people like you or, other people. I've just yesterday, just sent a quote over to somebody, and it's because I want to work with their business because of them and what they do and how they are, rather than just the next person that does the same job. It's because I've got that connection with them. And I think that, so obviously from a service industry point of view, it's slightly different than a product industry, but we can get on to product industry type stuff, because I think this, your face, your team's face, your expertise, if you put in you on a screen, I think that is, from what I read and at the moment, a lot of what business is going to become is about you as a person, because we're going to go into this world of AI where everything is going to be genericized. That's probably not a word, but I'm going to make it. It's going to be generic across the board, and I think the differentiator is you and your connection to your people. And whether you put another person in that mixture, and the other founder, or you have a face of the brand or something like that, but it's the human bit as opposed to the logo bit. And I'm a logo guy, but it's the people.
Yeah, I mean, it's changing it to how important from a founder point of view is to a personal brand. People want to buy from people, not the products. That's as you say, and trust, belief. My brother is a filmmaker. He's an amazing guy, and he that's what he does. He packages up people to help them promote themselves, because it's scary. It's shitty, like having to turn a camera, have a mic, and talk about yourself and talk about the things that you haven't done so well and the things that you have done well. And it kind of feels weird, but at the end of the day, that's the authenticity behind building the personal brand. And I think that's where if your product's shit, you don't deserve the customers. You have to iterate and improve. There's nothing wrong with having a bad product or bad service. There is a problem with having not the balls to change it and improve it to suit the right customers you want to have and work with.
Yeah.
But, getting on a podcast or something and making a fluff of it is okay. But the people that do love buying from people, and we leverage this mainly through through my business partner, our CEO, Forrest. If you look on podcasts and YouTube and things like that, he's always in there interviewing. But he's great. He's incredibly technical. He really cares. He speaks really well. He's a big guy, big, handsome American chap, and he looks, and he's great. And so we love that. I'm happy to be a bit more quiet behind the scenes, but I do think that that's part of just the phase of business we're at. And I've done a few more of these more recently in the last sort of 6 months. And I do enjoy it. I'm happy to talk about the things I want to talk about. If people want to talk deep tech, definitely talk with Forrest. If you want to talk about, some of the challenges the business have had, the team members, some of the emotional things, or where we want to be as a business and a strategy, then I'm always happy to do that as well.
Yeah. I think watching the growth of Kineon, which I have a Kineon here myself. I have used it as well. This one is my own one here. Thank you very much, Tom.
Yeah. You're welcome.
I've used it on my knees and everything, and I think that what you bring to the table, certainly the passion that you spoke about it when we spoke about it before, is the fact that that it's going back to the lifestyle, the holistic lifestyle element of it, and I think that comes across from obviously everything that we've spoke about. But so going back from back into history on you, because obviously we just talked about business and we talked about like the health side of things or the holistic side of things. Did you have any inkling that you were, because one of the things I really love to do is to see if people could see that coming. So I personally, I am very unusual in that I chose what I wanted to do as a teenager. I had a couple of first choices. So I wanted to be a car designer and then I wanted to be an architect. Both of those were too difficult. So I chose to do graphic design instead. But that was at 13, and I've done that all the way up to, my middle life now. So I want to know what was Tom like, and how, and would a young Tom plot the course to where he is now?
It's a great question. Going back to 13, that's pretty awesome that you've been doing that for. I mean, you're only in your mid-20s now, so it's not that long, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I guess the short answer is yes and no. Okay, so from my mid-teens, I'd been surrounded. My dad actually lived abroad, and he was a finance accountant. And I remember going into the office where he worked, and there's this huge building, huge glass building, and just being in awe. And when you park the car, and it's really hot, so when you park the car, you have to walk through the car park, and you go into the front door. And it was so hot. You'd get out of the car, which they see, you'd walk through to the massive door, and it'd take you minutes to get there. It's really hot. And then your doors would open, and this huge room with a waterfall inside it, and this lateral smell, like, when you go to hotels and there's a specific smell per different hotels, and it'd be the specific smell, and it would be fresh water pouring, and the sound of that, and it'd be really cold and chilled. And that feeling was just like, I kind of, if I close my eyes, I can really feel it. And it actually, interesting one for you, because we're both F1 fans, is that it was in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. So I'm desperate to go to the Jeddah F1. And if I do, I will be going to that building to try to relive this childhood thing. I haven't been there since probably late 90s. So, what we're in 27 years or something. But I still remember that to this day. And I think that probably just that impression had on me, and Dad operating. He was an accountant, like nothing overly, like a great accountant, but nothing specific around that. And I think that and him talking with me about things over the years definitely fed into wanting to do something in business. I think that it wasn't until probably so then went to uni, did business and French actually at uni, but I failed my French A levels more or less. I passed it by like 3%, and they rejected me for uni. They said you can't come to do the course, but I really wanted to do business with French for some reason, even though I was crap at it. So I went to France for a little bit and studied French for 3 months, then wrote to them and said, look, I've got this certificate now. Can I come? And they said, yes, okay, you can come. So I went to uni, did business at uni, business 1 year at uni, a year in French university, then a year in like a business placement that was in France and in Spain, which was 6 months in Paris, actually selling golf equipment to all over northern France, Belgium, and then going into Holland, which was crazy experience. And then down to Spain, where I worked in some property business there. My dad had a property company that he'd started there, and unfortunately all crumbled with the crash in Spain in the early 2000s. And then went on and started working after university, and it was great. It was a great experience. Originally in sales, and then, but I quickly, after a year of doing that job, me and my friend bought our first property. We bought it I was in a car crash, and he was in the car with me, and he got some insurance money. So we used that money to put a deposit on a house. It was $6,000 or $7,000 or whatever. And then we bought 6 houses in 3 years. But we got caught in the 2008 bubble with property, and that had a big impact and not a great outcome, really. Again, learning opportunities, but that was the start of me branching out on my own and doing my own thing. And so it kind of evolved from there, and I can go into some of the after that if it's of any interest. But the reason I mentioned some of that is because my love of health and my love of wanting to do something that brings people together and improve the quality of this world, I think stem from all these experiences of maybe not getting it right, of seeing people struggling around me myself struggling, both academically, financially, and to some extent emotionally as well. Like I had friends. I played rugby. I played a lot of rugby. I played a lot of sport. I had a lot of friends. I was captain of rugby and cricket and things like this. But there was a connection there that I always felt was missing from myself internally, and so wanting to explore some of that inspired me to do like meditation, yoga, and then through that just becoming more connected. And I think as a founder, becoming more present with our emotions, present with who we are, and better able to make better decisions because of having that presence in the workplace.
Yeah. So the inspiration was your dad's career sort of showed you what you could do, and then really you know that passion for making something out of nothing, which is what business is, right? It's actually a creative pursuit. That's how I see business. Is that it's creativity as well as drawing and painting. Those being creative. Business is creative because you're taking an idea and you're formulating it in such a way as you're creating packaging, you're creating processes, you're creating websites and brands and everything, and turning that into a product, which then people can take in their hands, just like if you were painting a painting. So you've taken a creative process through a business model to a way, and tried numerous ways of doing it, and ultimately ended up with a lot of lessons, which I think, that in your words, and certainly in my personal experience, is the key to life, right? Is that you go through life and you pick up all these moments when you didn't do quite as well as you thought you could have done. And it's logging that moment for improvement going forward for the next step. And I think, as an entrepreneurial person, I feel like that's the key, right? Is that you just got to keep going. You don't stop, even when, like you lose it all or it all goes away, it's the not stopping part of it and applying all the lessons that you previously learned from the process. I would say that's probably it, right?
Yeah. Yes. I absolutely agree. And people say, I don't know, like, it's hard, or they got it easy, or, they started with money, which meant it was easy for them, or they started with nothing, but they got help with it. Everybody works their ass off to make something successful. There is no shortcut to success. And sure, sometimes people do get unicorn moments. They have nothing, they try nothing, they put a video online and suddenly it blows up and they become rich. But are they happy? Well, that's another discussion. But just in terms of the societal, success grading, if you like, they become rich, therefore they're happy and successful. but actually, usually, most cases, it just takes bloody hard work, and it takes like being faced with like shit situations, cash flow problems, supply chain problems, customer complaints, staffing issues. It takes working through each and every one of them relentlessly, continuously, showing up when it's cold, wet, and miserable, and getting it done. And doesn't mean you have to perform 100% perfect on those days, but just showing up and getting something on that list done and keep moving forward. Yeah, that's the way to success, and just keep chipping away. We had myself and my brother when we moved to China, 2008, and we worked for a factory for about a year and a half, which was cool, great experience, learned Chinese through that. But then we set up a film company, and we set up a film company. We had literally no money. We had no experience of running a film company. We didn't know China or the sales market process to business. And we were based in this, I say tiny village, but it's 250,000, 500,000 people in China. That's tiny. In England, that's like fourth largest city in the country, sort of thing. But it was tiny, and there was no other foreigners. And we started that business, ended up running all around China, all around the world, filming for some of the biggest brands in the world, musicians, musical shows, huge music concerts, filming Great Wall of China, all a bunch of different amazing things. But ultimately, in society's eyes, that business failed because we never made decent money or money from it. And so the way I look at it is that was not a failure. That was an amazing experience of life. I do wish that we'd been able to make some money from it because it would help us in so many ways, like fill holes and create the journey going with that. But that wasn't to be. The learning and the experience from it was phenomenal. And that's allowed me to go into what we're doing now in terms of my mindset, in terms of my mindset, and in terms of what is it I want to do, and like what you said, what is it I want to design to do, and therefore how do I need to be, and what do I need to be in order to achieve that? Yeah. And I'd love to touch on that a bit later if that's a direction to go in. But yeah, hopefully that's a bit of background.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm just thinking, Tom, that one of the things that I'm not going to give you too much smoke your way, but really, you like a challenge. That's what I'm seeing there. You want to go to France to do business, and then you push yourself to be able to get there, do extra to get there. Then you push yourself to basically build a property business. Then you end up pushing yourself. You go to China, and you have to. So you've not only learned French now and worked in Spain and stuff. You're now in China, and you're pushing yourself to learn Chinese. That actually, I would say, is you've got a fairly unique character set there of like challenge.
Or screwed up.
No, like just it's fairly impressive in my mind. It's like. Yeah, it's almost like you need to push yourself. I'm not saying that from a psychological point of view, but it's almost like pushing yourself is actually part of the achievement process. And I could probably sort of part agree with that, but only in like a 10th scale of what you've tried to do is that, like trying new things all the time. It's the new things that actually get us out of bed, right? It's the new experiences. So like, I haven't done this before, or, like, follow my muse. You've heard that phrase before. It's like, the inspiration that comes to you. It's like, oh, I can follow it there. You followed it obviously to China. And I want to just quickly touch, I'll come back to that in a second, but touching on the money part of it, it is really, really important from a business point of view that you do make money, because it, as you said, it unlocks a lot of things. And the basic one I would say in my life is it unlocks stress. A stressed life, because there's no point, which I've found personally, there's no point chasing the dream and doing everything that you want to do for pure passion and love, but you go home and you've got this, and I obviously know that you're married with children as well. You go home to a place where you haven't, you've got more stress and guilt and all that kind of stuff as a man and, like a provider, that you go home with that burden on your shoulders if you're not bringing in the readies, as it were. And so it's almost not worth chasing. And this is, I think, why society ends up doing, is that they end up compromising, because the guilt and the difficulty of, like providing for your household, it trumps living the dream. And so many people get rid of the dream, and they just go with the providing. For me, what I've tried to do is thread the needle, and it, as you say, it doesn't always work out, but thread the needle through the passion and the income, the passion and the income, and try and sew them together as best I can. It means that I'm not a millionaire, but if I look back at all of my business career, I've done everything I wanted to do. I've had a couple of days, and I mean 2 days, working in Scott's Packaging when that was down Malton. I don't know if you remember that. And I was putting Hoover hoses in bags. And I went in day one, I was doing Hoover hoses. And then the next day I was doing calendars, putting calendars in bags. And I just thought, this is not for me. I'm out of here. I never returned up on the third day. And then I had the cheek to go back and ask for the money for those 2 days, which he wasn't happy about. And it was a bit of a confrontation. But yeah, it's that passion, income thing for me. It's like, it's weaving the two together. I went off on one there, but you get my gist.
Yeah, no, I'm with you totally. The money is a store of value, and it allows us to make more decisions and do more things and experience more things. I think that the challenge is that people, well, certainly when I was in my 20s, my goal, like when I started doing the property stuff, was I wanted 3 Aston Martins and 3 Lambos in the garage. It wasn't about trying to save the world or make things better or supply a good service. It was just, how do I get there? I want it. How do I do this? And we were conscious, we were nice, we were friendly, we were always fair with it, to be honest, but probably why it didn't work out. But that was the motivator. Whereas now it's a very different, turn it on its head. And I think that for me, it's why I'm not in film business anymore, is that I wanted to, so the book by Tim Ferriss, The 4-Hour Work Week, was quite a pivotal book, which I was reading probably in around the middle of when I was having some of the challenges. And it had only been out about a year when I'd read it, and introduced from a friend of mine. So it's a long time ago now, and I still haven't quite got the formula down at all, but working way more than 4 hours a week.
Yeah.
But the key was there for me was I would like to design a product, a widget, any widget that's in a brown box. It goes into a warehouse, it sits on a shelf. I design a marketing machine that then can sell the product. So customer buys one, factory sends one back to the warehouse, and it creates its own little ecosystem. And I wanted to design it so that I could live anywhere in the world and be mobile. And I wanted to do it so that it was bringing health and wellness to people, improving people's lives, so that when I went to a trade show, I wasn't talking about, oh, we have this new eco-friendly plastic, or this new eye kettle that was a smart kettle that can turn on when you wake up. That's all really cool. I love those things, but I didn't want to be involved in that. I wanted to go to trade shows where we're talking about health and wellness. You mentioned some products, supplements that you enjoy taking and have for a long time. That's the sort of thing to talk about, is how do we optimize ourselves? How do we live in longevity? And how do we help others around us? We have spouses, wives, husbands, children, parents, grandparents, whatever it is. And people get sick. And that's unfortunately the way that we are as humans, but we can help people become better and healthier. And so often those things still also require money, which means that, to your point, you've got to make the money to help with this as well. So yeah. Money is sustainable. Sustainable is growth.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the be all and end all, as we know, and as most people know, it really isn't. Once you've accumulated it all, like I always trot this phrase out, but John Lennon said, everyone should own a Rolls Royce because you can see God from here. And obviously what he meant was, once you've achieved it all and you've got it all, actually you look back and you go, actually there's what's the layer that we're missing. And it's not about the accumulation of stuff. Is it accumulation of experiences? Maybe we've shifted as a society into that sort of realm now. It's like the hedonistic sort of mentality. But maybe that's too deep for this podcast. But I know we talk about all this kind of stuff in the past anyway. Yeah. But yeah, I think that generally, it's that whole thing. Go on, sorry.
No, I think you're right. I think that you'll have seen it, but the Steve Jobs, what's it called when he talks to the universities and things? What do they call those?
Commencement speech.
The commencement speech, and he talks about like you don't really know what you're doing, but if you follow your heart and your passion, what you really believe in, not like I'm chasing Lambos, but what you really believe in, like you just passionately followed your creative brand building, creative business. But when you follow what you love and you do more of that, you sometimes do these random things, but when you look back, all the dots of those random things, they always line up. And it always makes perfect sense when you look back at it. Oh, those 3 things that failed, they taught me these 3 things or these 10 things that's allowed me to do this thing I'm doing now to a better quality. And I think that it's really important for society. Yes, the money's really good, but get to your heart and get to what you really truly feel. Doesn't have to be perfect, but get to that and work on doing that, because that'll lead you to do more of the things you love, like exactly what you've said with Dogtooth.
So then if you look at, that thread that runs through when you look back and it all lines up, what sort of habits and routines do you think you had that have allowed you that are in that thread of where you are? What sort of things make that up for you?
Yeah, it is a great question. So I would say that consistently wanting to provide the best quality of what we're doing to our customer, to our person, whether it's in the film company, in the property side of things, but also bringing the creativity and enjoyment to it, and having a laugh whilst doing it. I think that where we are, we're poised with Kineon on the edge of some really exciting things, and we've shipped 60,000 units in 3 years. That's a lot of product to be shipping. It's not a cheap product, but I think that the next phase of it will unlock a lot more cool things to be able to come through, and that means that all the years of not being able to deliver things to me personally, but also to my friends and family, and even more exciting opportunities of learning exposure will start to become available. And I think that that's, for me, one of the biggest goals in life is unlocking experiences and through business, through making the decisions, through building something that we want to do, spending time with the people we want to do. Even in the film business, we focused around the music industry, and that's because we loved music. We absolutely love live music. So we dove into that and went really deep in it. So I guess as a thread, as a theme, doing something we love because we believe that what we're learning from that is not just for us now, but us for the future. So for where you are now then, so if I was to say to you,
when you maybe more today, you're more in a systemized role of, like, because you've got team meetings and you've got customer meetings and all that, that kind of thing going on. But like, let's say back in the earlier days, how did you internally work, right? So did you have good self-discipline? Did you force yourself to do certain things? Were you driven by a passion? What sort of things is in your experience have you got, and would tips that you would give to someone?
I think it's a great question. There's many awesome books are written on it, and it's where it starts from asking the questions about yourself as a person. And it doesn't start, everybody thinks, oh, this external thing, and that's what I'm going to do. And running a big company is hard. It's tough. It's not tough because, it's tough because the days that are where things are not working exactly how you want substantially outweigh the days where they are working. But the individual days where they work substantially outweigh with the joy and the happiness and the fulfillment any of those other days. So it's being brave enough to understand yourself that, are you ready for the challenge of potentially this won't work? But if you see it as a failure, then it's already the wrong mindset. What we got to see is, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to start with my present conscious self the foremost, and I'm going to strategize as a second tier to this, and I'm going to learn make decisions based on what I've learned in the past and based on what is in front of me now to get to the next step. So if someone's worked in a corporate job all their life and they just want to be a baker, obviously that's an extreme, they've worked in corporate insurance, punching in cards, and now they want to be a baker. That's quite an extreme. So the obvious things are, can you bake? Have you worked in a bakery? And if not, go and do some of that as a practice. Don't just give it all up and jump in. Oh, I can bake at home. It's very different baking at home to baking commercially to make profit. And it's, can you source, are you interested? Do you care enough to source the individual products to make sure they're cost effective? Do you understand how to handle those things? And it's no problem if the answer is no, but you need to learn the basics of those. So it's like get some of your ducks in a row early on to understand what it is you're trying to achieve and why it is you want to achieve it. But I think for me, some of the keys that I've found is I personally have a great partner. Find a partner. Find someone that can support, share the hard times, share the good times, and equally passionate. Now, that doesn't mean their relationship lasts forever. Often they don't, and that's just also part of that learning curve. But I found that that's been helpful for me in previous startups that I've been involved in. Some have worked, some haven't worked, but also upskilling yourself. Just a second. What I'm saying is around sometimes it works with the partner. So I think that if you're building a product business, there's a lot of areas of which to upskill and become aware of it. And it's also marketing and, there's a lot of moving parts with it. So for me, when I met you, Rick, I was working a consulting role with Rich in the fruit and veg distribution business, which was an awesome experience. But at the same time, on the evenings and weekends, I was learning. I tried to do a Facebook group promotional affiliate marketing. I tried to do Amazon FBA business. I tried to do Facebook ad business and marketing business and Facebook group marketing business. Tried to do all those three, and none of them worked. They worked in terms of I learned, but they didn't work in terms of I didn't make any money from it. It just cost me money and just sank into a hole. And I was doing that evening and weekends whilst having a young family. But it taught me so much that when I went on to do Kineon, I'd already learned about Amazon. We now 25% of business comes through Amazon sales. When we started Kineon, we needed to talk with people about Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Google ads. I'd done Facebook ads and Google ads through those other businesses. Yeah. We're now doing affiliate marketing. I'd done affiliate marketing in those child businesses. And so I was able to pull that experience through. And I thought that I wanted to have a FBA business because I'd heard friends, they're making money. Oh, it's easy and blah, 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 blah. When I got into it, it was bloody hard work. And ultimately, it looked like I was going to have to ship random pieces of shitty plastic around the world to make profit. And I wasn't prepared to do that. I'm not prepared to ship this crap around the world, damage the planet to people that get it, have it for 30 seconds and then just get rid of it. So for me, that motivated me to go in a different direction and build the online business I wanted to build. But I could take all those skills with me. And that's the experience that I had from doing it. And obviously film business, help with marketing, messaging, all that kind of thing. So my advice is start with your presence, and your strategy will come secondary to that. Because when you know what you kind of need or want, then that's going to help you fulfill yourself. And it means that when you are in the shitty days, the hard days, I mean, me and Rick, we've had many a coffee. Oh, mate, can I just come over for coffee and just I need to have a moan about the world and the business and things. We've done that, and having that community is so important. And also one of the final thing on that is that you'd mentioned about as men, it's tough. As dads, it's tough. Young families, middle-aged families, whatever it is, families, children leaving this. Get together with other guys. Don't just leave. Don't let it all pile up on top of you, because everybody is juggling their own version of the same thing you are going through. And I'm part of a men's circle over here in Penang, which sounds a bit like, not sure about that, but it's a bunch of guys. We meet once a month and we just sit and talk about like real shit. Like, oh, I'm struggling, not just randomly, it's structured, but if you're struggling with like anger issues or stress issues or maybe mild depression or things like this, like get out and talk about it, because sure as the bear shit in the woods, at least 5 of your closest mates are going to be going through the same juggles, just in their version. And I think that that's another great thing that allows you to build, who is supporting you through your decisions of building this business, who's uplifting you on the darker days. Oh, mate, don't worry about it. You can get through it. Versus, mate, I told you it wouldn't work. Why are you bothering? Like, go back to get your job. At least you're getting well paid at that job. It's a real different energy and a different vibe. So, yeah, that's the other great thing, I think, is getting your tribe together.
Yeah. Choosing the right people. I mean, I think from that same Tim Ferriss book that we talked about before is that I'm pretty sure he says that I think he's quoting someone, but he says, you are the average of your 5 closest friends. And part of my personal choices in life have always been about that. I've always had good people around me. I had one of my friends who will remain nameless. He was a close friend of mine in university days, and the contrast between who I was then and who I am now, is quite significant. And if I look at it in that aspect of like the friendship of who you are, it definitely was. I definitely was the person that he was around the things he was. He attracted me to that world, and now I'm a businessman, and I don't like to say businessman, but I'm a creative. I'm surrounded by creative people, creative business owners, and my day to day is always talking to people. I mean, when I was doing the podcast, I was like really trying to. Actually, I don't have very many women that I can speak to about stuff, because I'm just surrounded by a bunch of men who are running businesses. It's basically that's my whole network is a lot of people. And as you say, I actually don't know if society has changed slightly, that or if it's me. So in that, before, I think I've seen a lot of this. Oh, it's awesome! We're doing great. We're gonna gangbusters. We're gonna be millionaires next week, kind of thing. To actually, yeah, mate, it's pretty tough. Yeah, this is difficult. I'm having problems with this, and I'm having a lot of conversations with people about that. So I don't know if it's society that's allowing men to talk like that, or if it's the fact that I'm receptive to that, and therefore them people feel natural about talking about that, or if I've talked about it, because I'm a kind of open book. There's not many subjects that I don't talk about, as anyone who knows me will know. But I think that there's something shifting in my experience, and I think it's really important to have people around you, because it's not easy. Life is not easy, and it never was. Right? It was never easy. But I think we backed ourselves down an alleyway in terms of that we don't talk about stuff, because going back to your rugby days, right, is that men have always had groups, clubs, and you can have the offhand, even if over a pint, you can have the offhand. We don't do that. Society does not do that. I mean, we're just talking about the lack of pubs in the town. The Golden Lion's gone, the Green Man's gone, the Clarence is gone, like the White Horse has gone. How many, places where people gathered have gone, because we're all, doing this internet thing now, or living remotely, as it were. So yeah, I think it's really, it's going back to that human connection thing that we talked about right at the beginning.
Yeah,
that's the importance, really, I think.
That's the thread through, I think, the success. And because for me, I'd rather, numbers are arbitrary, but I'd rather a couple of million in the bank, great connections, happy, than 100 million in the bank and just lost and aimless. And I know money gives you more options to do different things, but really that human connection is so important. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you can connect, especially now, like you say, you can connect with your tribe anywhere. Our company, we founded it during COVID. We were in the middle of COVID. I was working, at the time, I had 3 consulting roles. I worked for Rich next door, I worked for Lee in the construction business, and I worked for my brother, who had a car selling business, a secondhand car dealership. Fantastic business. But I worked those 3 as a consulting, like a day for one, a couple of days a week for the other, a couple of days a week for the other. And then I started Kineon, which at the time was called Revive Light, on the weekends and the evenings. My business partner at the time was in Atlanta, so East Coast America. So his day started somewhere around So I started talking with him somewhere around 6 p.m. after I finished the work at Lee's, and I'd stay on calls until about 9 p.m. ish, and then go home, have dinner, see the family, and then at the weekends I'd be doing the same. And I didn't know if it was going to work, but that's how it all started. And now our team is globally displaced. We have about 35 employees over 14 time zones. We don't need to be in the same room, but we do need to have the connections, and 100% the physical connections. Like, it's great when you see your mates and you are together. So I totally 100%, if you can have that, then do it. But don't let geography stop you from like upskilling, learning, exploring your community and your tribe, because now also a flight is, you can get really low price flights, and it's awesome.
All right, dude. well,
Sorry, that's both of them.
That's all right. Well, let's round this up anyway. So obviously you were talking about how, the personal connection can be through WhatsApp, because, again, similar to you, is my WhatsApp is international. I can be talking in all different time zones to, keep relationships going. And I'm terrible for that. I'm not a socialite. I'm a bit of a geek. I kind of keep myself to myself in general terms, but once you open that door, that's all. I'm quite happy to walk through it and to talk about anything. But I think it's that thing of understanding, like who you are, what you're good at. So just bringing it back to that sort of the initial question, which we went around the houses of, which is the fact that if you're looking to do something that you love, I think the things that I could pull back from what you said is one, it's like find something that's like a core thing, like the passion, the drive, because that will keep you going, right? That fundamentally will keep you going if it's the thing you want. Then it's like learn. So it doesn't matter if the things that you learn don't work out, but just like online courses, even, like you've got to invest. Like you've said, they didn't work out for you. All you did was learn skills. You've got to invest in your future and your business and the opportunity. And some of that investment is just pure time in the trenches, learning stuff, doing things. And then I think one of the things that you maybe wouldn't say, but I would definitely pull out from your story, is pure hard work, is graft and grind. And I know people don't want to hear that these days. They want to hear that you can make, 100,000 a month from doing nothing, with an AI doing this and that, But even still, which is all possible, I know it is possible. I know people who make stupid money online. It still requires hard work. It still requires a lot of effort, a lot of skill, a lot of learning, and that learning bit sometimes is the bit that really is the heavy weight that you've got to carry, I would say. So just that was me trying to condense all that into like the lessons I think that both of us would probably agree on.
Could I share a little bit on that, if you don't mind?
Absolutely.
Would that be all right? So what you just said there, I think, is epic and would be great as a clip. Just like that's boom, that's it. That's a headliner. I think that one of the ways within this is that people don't always know what they want. They don't always know what is really inside them. So it's okay to have a general, like, don't just. It's okay to, like, for example, if you're going to go into sales and you're going to sell, I don't know, I can't think of a great example. Makeup. You might not give a shit about makeup, but you might enjoy the company or the structure or the training program. So therefore you're going to learn. So focus on what is it it might not be the makeup, might not be the great thing, but the sales training program you go through, freaking epic. Or vice versa. You might be selling cars that you absolutely love. The sales program isn't quite as good, but you're doing something you really care about. That's really important. The hard bit is to try and identify that quickly, where like you weren't probably being trained very well in that picking and packing job, and you didn't want to be a picking and packing person. So it's just a bit of a non-starter from the start. But a couple of skills and tools that I just can't recommend enough is meditation. I think meditation is a game changer, whether that's prayer, if you're in Christian or religious in that way, prayer is very powerful. Meditation, if that's the sort of packaging that you want to put on that. But essentially, it's getting that alone time, the stillness to allow you as a person and you to listen to you as a person, as a spirit, and as a soul. Because I think that it doesn't shift things in the moment the first time you do it. But I know that if I get a 21-minute meditation in the morning, I still get the same challenges and issues. Like customer's still going to complain whether I meditate or not. But how I feel at the end of the day, I just have a more zen or a more awareness of me at the end. I might have still blown my top at some points. I might have done something wrong or whatever. But somehow at the end, and that regulation of ourselves allows for when the stress and the problems to come in a year, in a month or a year or in 3 years, it allows us to be better suited and trained and prepared for it. And getting through those stressful times by seeing better solutions is what allows us to grow and become bigger and become that overnight success that everybody wants to achieve. So really sitting with yourself in the quiet of the day and spending the time to, I mean, there's a million podcasts on it. There's a million YouTube videos. There's a million books of it. You don't have to spend any money. You just have to practice and do it. And that just, it's free. So that for me, I think is one of the single most biggest things that anybody in whatever they want to do, whether they want to be the best car salesman in the world, the most creative mind in the world, the best business entrepreneur in the world, the best pig farmer in the world, that allows you to sit and be open to the universe to speak to you and to open up channels of connection to other 5 people, like you said before, the 5 people that are also like that. And when you find your tribe of people that are like that and able to share at that level, you're unstoppable. Yeah. It's just a game changer.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I did a lot of meditation, which we've spoken about before as well. And I actually find it's the quiet, like my brain runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time. And I have like ideas all the time about everything, and it can be nothing to do with me. And I'm still quite happy to have an idea pop into my head. But it's the quietening of your mind that actually gives you that sort of respite from all the stuff that's competing going on. So whether you've got this bill to pay, you've got this person to contact, I forgot I need to process that piece of data or print or whatever it is. But yeah, that whole thing of like just trying to shut off all of that noise and just like sit back in and it really does help. I don't do it as much today as I would have been doing probably in various points in my life where I would have done it daily. At the moment, it's probably like every few days. I used to use the Calm app all the time. I tried Headspace, not so much for me. But yeah, all I do is YouTube now. I just put in 10-minute guided meditation, and they're just, as you say, there's free, and there's so many on different topics as well. So there's for procrastination, for action, for whatever it is that you want, you can find something to help you. It's the toolbox, really, right? Meditation. So
that's it.
So
yeah, that's it. Absolutely. And within that, the final bit on that for me is I'm working on finding a solution, but I get tired in the afternoons, and I think it's just a combination of long years, stress, family, all that kind of thing building up, and I need to resolve that. But one of the things is, if anyone gets tired or less energy, let's say in the afternoons, is yoga nidra. And it's basically a talk down power nap, but you put headphones on and you listen to it, and it can be 6 minutes, 15 minutes, 21, whatever time you want. And it's all free. I use Ali Boothroyd on YouTube. It's totally free. But I have thoughts going on and I can't rest. I just put that on, and all I have to do is listen to the music and listen to her voice. Don't have to even try to sleep, but you listen to it, and after the 12 minutes or whatever you've done, you feel like a live human. You feel like you've slept 3 hours or 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever, and you feel awesome again. So yeah, those 2 tools, once in the morning and then once that afternoon, absolute game changer for survival.
Real. Well, I'll have to try that one myself. Actually, one of the questions that I sent you over was about tools, and I think we'll take that one as the answer for that one. So anyway, Tom, obviously you've got a business to get on with, or a life to get on with, because obviously I know that you're way ahead of me in terms of time, aren't you? I think I was in the early morning. You've finished work for the day, and you need to get back to life. So thank you very much for your time. I love chatting with you and catching up and just seeing where Kineon's going and where life is, and just talking about business and stuff. So thank you very much. Last thing, sorry, is if you want to just round up, and then, but when you're doing that, also tell us where we can find things about Kineon as well.
Okay, yeah, great. So thank you, Rick. Thanks for having me on the show. It's awesome to see Dogtooth just going from strength to strength, but also navigating the things that you are passionate about. And from our first meeting, when we connected and got chatting right through to now, the evolution of Dogtooth and how you're navigating what you really want to do in this world and what you're bringing and the successes. And I'm loving the artwork that I see behind you. Some of that started back those years ago. And I love all the things that from a brand and creative point of view that you're bringing out. And this podcast is just another, what's the word? Creative expression is the word, an expression from Rick Jesse and the Dogtooth brand. And it's great to see it. And I know that you have a lot of, you inspire a lot of people. You've written books on business and how to grow businesses and get started and things. I think that's inspiring for people to read and watch and listen to. But the podcast and the people you have on it are going to be great as well. So, in conclusion, please check us out, Kineon.io, .io. And we're on Instagram as well. I think it's Kineon Labs on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, Tom Sanderson 1980, I think it is. Catch me on LinkedIn. If you type in Tom Kineon, I'm sure it'll come up, or search Rick's and connect through me. I'm happy to chat with anybody about any of the topics we discussed today. I'm happy to hop on a call. I'm sure Rick's happy to hop on the call. And if we can support, we're there to support. But if you've got any joint pain, definitely contact us because we have some solid solutions for that as well.
Brilliant. Well, good luck for the future, Tom. Appreciate your time.